Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 2 Episodes 8 and 9, The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit. So this two-parter, this is a fantastic two-parter. This is just amazing. The plot seeks the Doctor and Rose arrive on Sanctuary Base 6, a sanctuary base set up by human colonists on a planet, an impossible planet, orbiting a black hole and just can't fall into it. There is something going on here, and they're trying to investigate. So the Doctor and Rose, they get trapped here when the TARDIS falls down into the planet, further down to the planet due to the black hole causing sort of earthquakes on the planet itself. Anyway, once the Doctor and Rose are settled into this sanctuary base, and I do like how they do have the whole situation of them being stranded here. They are stuck without the TARDIS. But once that's out of the way, once we get that established, the main threat of our story starts to take effect as Toby Zed, the archaeologist of the team, is possessed by this unknown creature, which also seems to be causing issues for the servants of these human colonists, the Ood. This is the first story featuring these alien creatures, by the way, as well as also the computer system. Throughout episode 1, we're building up this mystery about the who this thing is, what he's doing, his possession of Toby and later the Ood, and him causing some interference and problems for the humans. It does a really great job with that, as well as also some really great sci-fi action moments as well, which is always a good thing in my book, and some really exciting tension built up with some great moments. The characters are introduced in this story for this two-parter. They're amazing. I love every single one of them. They're brilliant characters. With Zach the captain, Ida the scientist, Scooty the engineer, Danny I guess he's the financial advisor, Toby the archaeologist, and Mr. Jefferson the head of security, plus two other guards who we actually don't have anything about. They're just there, I guess. Plus some good personalities from the Oods. They're pretty good. Pretty fun. And it's really great getting over the first 20 to 25 minutes of the episode. Maybe even 30, 20 to 30 minutes of the episodes. We get introduced to these characters. We get built up around them, get to know them quite a little bit, and as a group. A few little things will be about some of the characters are revealed in part 2 of the story, but it's some nice stuff built up around the characters in this first episode, and it's definitely a good way to get us all, like with the Preachers in the Cyberman 2-part. It's a great way to get the audience invested in these characters. And the story slowly but surely moves along at a really great pace as we get invested in the characters, and as they start to die, well, apart from the other two security people, but when one of the crew members dies around Act 2 time of episode 1, episode 8, part 1 of the story, it is pretty sad to see this character go, especially as she's the youngest. Anyone who's seen the episode will probably know who I'm talking about. There's actually only 3 female crew members on this base, to be honest. One of them's a guard. The other one is a main character, and the last one is another main character, but who makes it all the way to the end. But yeah, and then the final 10 minutes are also really great as well, with the Doctor and Ida, one of these crew members, going down to the down below to see what's down there, see what's in the planet. However, the Ood are soon they're getting talked to by this creature, and eventually the creature possesses Toby properly, and he reveals himself, as well as taking over the Ood, which brings us to the end of the episode with the epic cliffhanger. Not to mention the Doctor and Ida stumbling across a cavern down below and finding a pit entrance that, opening up, comes to a massive pit, a really deep one. And yeah, that was a really thrilling cliffhanger there. Episode 8 into episode 9, fantastic cliffhanger. The pit is open, and I am free. Ha 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 ha. Satan Pit, the second episode of this two-parter, episode 9, picks up more or less shortly afterwards as the security guards open fire on the Ood. Quite a few Ood do die in this episode. Also, Security Guard 2 died at the end of the last episode, and the next time trailer reveals that the first security guard also dies in this episode, which I think it is a she, and she does die shortly after the titles. So with Rose, Mr. Jefferson, Danny, and Toby trapped in one of the where the drill and the cable thingy were area, and Zach trapped into mission control by the Ood, and the Doctor and Ida stuck down below. Goes on from there as the Doctor and Ida attempt to go back up, but they're interrupted by a message from the Beast, as he's called, the Beast. And after a great scene with the Beast talking to each character, and even starts getting into the mind of each one of them, and the Doctor trying to reassure them afterwards, and then the Beast cutting him off and stranding him and Ida below. That was a really great scene, and makes us, and it keeps the Doctor from getting back up, so he now has to go down into the pit to find out what's going on. Meanwhile, upstairs, Rose and her team have to find out a way to stop the Ood and have to get to Ood habitation to take their telepathy level down from basic 100, which they shouldn't be at. 5 is apparently their normal one. 30 is screaming inside their heads, and then 100 is brain overload. But the Beast is talking to them on that higher level before taking over their bodies, and so they have to get the basic level down to 0 to knock them out, so more or less. So there is this quite a few tense scenes where the gang have to go into the tunnels, and Mr. Jefferson sadly loses his life when trying to protect the others. Although thankfully he dies from air suffocation rather than death by Ood. I say thankful. He considers it more natural, so it's a more honourable death, I suppose. And then the rest of the gang get to Ood habitation to knock out the Ood. It's also worth noting that the Beast still has some sort of hold on Toby Zed. The Doctor then plummets into the pit after deciding when they get to 10 miles of cable down, he decides to drop even further and finds himself in a air filled cavern, big cavern, where he encounters the body of the Beast. The surviving humans minus Ida manage to escape in the rocket, but the mind of the Beast is still clashing onto Toby Zed, so Rose has to send him into space. Poor Toby, but like the Ood, there will be sacrifices in this episode, even though they're victims of possession. And the mind of the Beast falls into the black hole as the Doctor releases the body of the Beast from its holding to be destroyed once he realises that it was a trap set by the jailers, though the Beast can use it as a trap against him, but he has faith in Rose in order for them to survive. And his faith is well placed, because he then finds the TARDIS in one of the most yes moments of the entire series. And I mean the show in general, not just this series. Eventually, the Doctor saves Ida and then rescues the rocket, and they have escaped the planet falling into the black hole. And despite the loss of life, it is a really happy ending for our survivors, and it's a very satisfactory one. There's also some nice little hints to what's coming up in the series finale by the Beast earlier on in his little conversation scene when he's getting inside everyone's heads. So that's good. Some nice foretelling, some nice setup that's going to pay off in the last 2 episodes of the series, and a nice heartwarming conclusion of the story. Some great stuff. So the Impossible Planet, almost did that. Again, I don't want to get this one confused with Impossible Astronaut. So the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. What a magnificent episode. This is a really tense and exciting story with some great build-up, great characters, great villain who is masterfully voiced by Gabriel Wolf, who classic series fans will remember as the voice of Sutekh, Last of the Ascians, in season 13's Pyramids of Mars. And that was another fantastic story, by the way. as well as Cyrus Carson as the voice of the Ood, and he does a brilliant job as the voice of the Ood as well. And it's interesting to get to learn a bit about the Ood. However, more on the Ood will be revealed in a later story later down the line in this era, but in Planet of the Ood. But more on that later in this in these reviews. We'll get back to that. But it's nice to get a little bit of information at this point on the Ood and some nice stuff that's setting up their story in series 4. But mainly the supporting characters, besides the 2 security guards who don't really care about that much, but they're the exception. Really great, lot of supporting characters, and you care, like I said, apart from the security guards, you care when they die, and you worry about them, and it's a tense situation, and it's great. It's just a brilliant stuff. It feels like a Based Under Siege story, something that the second Doctor's era did really well, but in a more sci-fi setting, on a planet near a black hole. And like parallel universes, this black hole is subverts sci-fi expectations. When parallel universes, Mickey brings up the fact that people can go from one to the other easily, and the Doctor says it used to be, but after the Time Lords died, they took the secrets with them, and now going between parallel universes is impossible now. I wonder how possible it is now after Day of the Doctor. Well, pre-Spyfall, to be honest, actually, between Day of the Doctor and Spyfall. And as for the black hole here, Rose does mention that sometimes black holes are gateways to other universes and stuff, or across the universes. And in this black hole's case, this one just eats everything. It's one of the most dangerous black holes. It just eats everything. So it's one of the it's worse than one of the normal black holes. Then must have been a bloody big star to turn into a black hole. I was going to say it was Scaro's sun, but no, that got turned into a supernova. So the other thing stars do when they die, they turn into supernovas or they become black holes. This must have been a massive star though to become a black hole. Anyway, so some really great stuff here, some fantastic moments throughout the story, some great characters, and Murray Gold's fantastic music scores, great sets, and looks absolutely amazing. Great story. The tension is high, and it is exciting and keeps you on the edge of your seat. Part 2 is a bit more tensionous and a bit more dangerous than the first half, but the first one definitely sets up the mystery really well, with Part 2 bringing a really satisfactory conclusion, and both episodes bring some exciting tension to the mix. Some really great stuff here. I shall be giving The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit a 10 out of 10. Yep, great supporting cast, and our main leads are also really great as usual. On the whole, brilliant stuff. Really enjoyed this one. Thought it was a really great story, and I think it is an epic adventure, an epic story. Really, really brilliant. So that's it from me. Thank you for watching my review. The next story in this series that we'll be taking a look at is Love and Monsters, which, oh, this is going to be an interesting one. Okay, this is a split the fandom. It's mostly negative reception from the fan base, mostly, but it does have its fans. So yeah, this one's going to be an interesting one to talk about. At time of recording, I haven't rewatched it yet, but my feelings are neutral at the moment, as I can see elements from both sides of the argument. But we'll see what it's like after we rewatch. In whatever case it turns out to be, it's going to be an interesting one to talk about. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. So with the Doctor and I, they're down on the pit, down in the cabin next to the pit, and Zack trapped in the control room. But after a whole bit about one of the best, yes, who classic series fans will remember as the voice of Sutekh, Destroyer. Who classic fans will remember as the voice of Sutekh, last of the Ascians. Parallel universes, you used to, they were able, by the sound of it must have been a bloody big star. No, it can't have been Scar, it turned into a supernova. That's one of the other things they did. I was going to say, oh, could it be Skaro? But it's not, because that turned into a supernova. And then it got brought back, and then it was destroyed. And then it got brought back. Not Skaro, Skaro's son. The planet survives somehow. So, one of the other things. One of the other. I can see some of the elements of the 10th Doctor. Actually, I'll scratch that.